Right, good morning, Year 10. Here we are, week 5, and coming very close to finishing the first act of Romeo and Juliet. And well done to all of you, because there is an awful lot of learning that has gone on in these past weeks. I'm recording this on Thursday, the 28th of January, and I've already seen some of the Tybalt paragraphs from last week, and I am really pleased with what I have seen. I think you're all awesome. So we're going to continue in our awesomeness and move on. So the first two screens of this week are the support pages for the questions that you finished last week with. Okay, so you need to pause me and find your work from Friday's lesson of last week, where I set you 11 questions based around the section of the text that we were studying last week, and asked you to write your answers. Okay, I've included on this screen, as you can see, you've got answers 1 to 7, and then the other 8 to 11 are on the following page. Please, those of you who have a tendency to write down every single thing that appears in front of you in these videos, do not waste time copying all of this down. If we were in school, we would just mark them, right or wrong, and then we would move on. So please do not go through and write all these answers down before you move on to the next part of the video. It is not necessary. Read through them, have a look at what you wrote as your answers, but do not copy all this down, because that will take 10 or 15 minutes, and it is not what I want you to do with this information. In fact, it will probably take a lot longer, and it's not necessary. I'm going to repeat it once again, because some of you are just writing every single thing down. Do not copy all of these answers down. Just read through them and think, oh, right, that was the answer, or that was the general idea of the answer, and that will be fine, because we need to get on to the bit where Romeo and Juliet start talking to each other. Okay, so pause me, find your answers from Friday's lesson, check them through. Hopefully we'll have a good number of, well done me, I got that right. And if you didn't get it right, then don't worry. Read my answer and move on swiftly. Right, I'll see you on the screen with the next bit of text on it. Okay, I'm not going to put my voice on the following screen. It's not needed. Okay, so here we have it, the moment that they start speaking to each other. Now this has been preceded, so immediately before this speech between Romeo and Juliet, we have the section of Tybalt and Capulet. And if you remember, it finishes with Tybalt vowing that he will behave himself at the party, he will be patient, he will be sweet, but inside he is furious, absolutely fuming with the insult he feels Romeo has done his family, and therefore vows to get revenge at some later point. That anger, that threat of violence overshadows, therefore, this meeting of Romeo and Juliet, and we'll talk about Shakespeare and why he's structured in that way, either later today or in tomorrow's lesson. Okay, but for now, let's have a read of this momentous moment. If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle fine is this: my lips 2 blushing pilgrims ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. 4 saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss. Have not saints lips and holy palmers too? Ay, pilgrim, lips that they must use in prayer. Oh then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray, grant thou, lest faith turn to despair. Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake. Then move not, while my prayer's effect I take. Thus from my lips by yours my skin is purged. Then have my lips the sin that they have took. Sin from thy lips? Oh, trespass sweetly urged. Give me my sin again. You kiss by the book. Madam, your mother craves a word with you. What is her mother? Marry, bachelor, her mother is the lady of the house, and a good lady, and a wise and virtuous. I nursed her daughter that you talked withal. I tell you, he that can lay hold of her shall have the chinks. Is she a Capulet? Oh, dear account, my life is my foe's debt. Away, begone, the sport is at the best. Ay, so I fear, the more is my unrest. Nay, gentlemen, prepare not to be gone. We have a trifling foolish banquet towards. Oh, is it even so? Why, then I thank you all, I thank you, honest gentlemen. Good night. More torches here. Come on then, let's to bed. Ay, sirrah, by my fay, it waxes late. I'll to my rest. Come hither, nurse. What is yon gentleman? Oh, look at that, in that line twice. The son and heir of old Tiberio. And what's he that now is going out of the door? Marry, that, I think, be young Petruchio. What's he that follows there, that would not dance? I know not. Go, ask his name. If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed. The nurse goes, speaks to Romeo, and the nurse comes back and says, his name is Romeo, and a Montague, the only son of your great enemy. My only love sprung from my only hate, too early seen and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me, that I must love a loathed enemy. What's this? What's this? Okay, so this is the first section of the bit that I've just read to you. And I want you to do a bit of investigating. I want you to think about what you notice about this section of the text. So you've got 3 questions, and then I give you a piece of information about it, and I want you to work out what it is. I want you to find out how many lines there are in this section. Just be careful, because some of the lines from this copy of the play run on. So, for example, if you look at the top, if I profane with my unworthiest hand, that actually is 1 line, and we can work that out because there's such a big gap after the word hand. Okay, so if we were at school reading our more modern versions, that doesn't happen. The my unworthiest hand would would just follow on from the end of the line. So how many lines are there? What's the rhyme scheme? Remember, when we're working out a rhyme scheme, we talk about A's and B's and C's and D's and E's and F's and G's and so on. And all lines that rhyme with each other are given the same letter. And what do you finally notice about the last two lines? Okay, and then just a reminder, I was going to ask a question about this, but I thought that was a bit of a mean question. It's written in iambic pentameter. So remember, that's 10 syllables to a line, and it's unstressed rest. Unstressed rest. My group, 10x2, we looked at that in some of the poems that we studied before Christmas. Mr. Stevenson's group, obviously, I don't know if you studied exactly the same poems as us, so you may not have looked at iambic pentameter yet. If you haven't, what we normally are looking at when we look at iambic pentameter is, because it's a very steady rhythm, the subject of what is being written about is, we can write about it as being very steady, very sure, very certain, very complete. So the fact that this is written in that iambic pentameter is Shakespeare saying to the audience, conveying the idea that this love that Romeo now feels for Juliet, it's not like Rosaline's love. It's different, it's very sure, it's very certain, and it's very true. Okay, so that's iambic pentameter. All right. So how many lines are there? What is the rhyme scheme? And what do you notice about the last two lines? So try and work that out for yourselves. The answers are on the next screen. But as always, have a go yourself and see if you can carry that learning forward from previous lessons. Okay, so what on earth is going on here? You know, much easier in 2020. And if you see somebody you like, you might send them a message on text going, hi, and they'll send hi back, and then how's things? All very straightforward. Shakespeare doesn't really make this straightforward for us at all. So on this screen, to help you understand, I have on the left hand side Shakespeare's words, and then the right hand side in the pinkish tone box I have put sort of as best I can the modern equivalent of what they're saying, while still making sure that the important bits are absolutely included. Right, first instruction, for those of you who want to write every single thing down, I don't want you to write anything down from this screen. I'm going to talk through the box on the right, and you're just going to listen. Do not write anything down. You don't need to do that yet. Okay, so Romeo kicks it off and he says, in modern speak, if I show disrespect to a sacred religious thing by putting my unholy hand in your holy hand, the punishment is this. My two shy lips, like two men on a religious journey, are ready to kiss you. So basically, what's he saying here, and taking it even further in translation, he's saying, it would be a bit disrespectful of me just to grab your hand and hold it, because your hand is more perfect, more pure than mine. But what I'd really like to do is I'd really like to kiss you. I'm feeling a bit shy about doing this. Juliet responds, good gentleman, you criticise your hand too much. What you do is fine. For people on a pilgrimage touch the hands of statues, and putting two hands together is like a kiss. So Juliet keeps this idea of religious putting together of hands to pray with the same putting together of lips to kiss. And she says, well, it's okay to put hands together because pilgrims, when they come across religious statues, they like to touch those statues because it makes them feel closer together. So if we hold hands, it's okay to hold hands, and it will be a bit like a kiss because we'll be touching each other. Romeo then says, don't saints and pilgrims have lips? So his question is about, well, yeah, they touch hands, but they've also got lips. So if it's okay for them to touch lips, isn't it okay for us to touch our lips together? Juliet is being a bit flirty with this next response because she says, yes, pilgrim, lips to use for praying. So she agrees that saints and pilgrims have lips, but she says that the purpose of those lips is for speaking prayers, is not for kissing. Romeo responds, oh then, let my lips do what hands do. Let our lips pray together, else I will become sad. So he's saying, let our lips come together like our hands would if we were holding hands, and let us have a kiss. And, cheeky chap that he is, he says, if you don't let me kiss you, Juliet, I'm going to become very sad. Juliet replies, saints do not move even when they answer prayers. So again, a bit flirty because she doesn't say, get lost, I don't want you to kiss me. What she says is that those religious statues, they don't move. Obviously, because that's the definition of a statue. Unless you're watching not a museum, because then of course the statues do move, but that's for another lesson. So statues don't move. So if I say yes, I'm not the one who's got to do anything. And Romeo, flirty chap, says, that's fine then, you don't move, you stand still like a statue while I kiss you. Okay, I'm hoping that makes this conversation clearer to you. In Shakespearean terms, it's quite a flirty conversation. Romeo's like, I really want to hold your hand, but actually, even more so, I want to kiss you. And Juliet says, well, putting hands together is sort of like a kiss. And then she pretends that lips are just for speaking and aren't for kissing, and so on and so forth. So they meet each other, they share this conversation, and Romeo moves in for the kill because he does in fact move forward and kiss her at that moment. And we're all a little bit warm under the collar at this romantic first meeting that has just happened. Or you lot are just sitting there going, why didn't he just say, can I kiss you in the first place and get it over with? Because we wouldn't be able to write about it so well in a paragraph. Okay, we're not going to worry about that at the minute. We're going to, on the next screen, think more about this idea of hands coming together in prayer and lips coming together in a kiss. And we're going to think about this this comparison, this metaphor that Shakespeare uses. Okay? Remember, you don't write anything from this screen. Right, I'm hoping that this screen makes the speech that we've just been looking at, where Romeo and Juliet meet, a bit clearer to understanding the overall ideas behind it. Okay, so you need to keep in your head that image of hands praying. And of course, that image is a very religious image. It's linked to a number of different religions, and it is a sign, it's a symbol of the person who owns those hands talking to their God, feeling near to their God. And what Shakespeare does is he takes that image, that symbol of the praying hands, and he moves it to a different part of the body, and he talks about the lips of coming together, like the hands come together, but this time in a kiss. Now, obviously, there is a difference because the hands belong to one person and the lips belong to two different people. So there is that difference there. But what we need to understand here is that Romeo and Juliet are going against their parents' wishes. We know that Juliet is controlled by her father and that society expects her father to choose her husband for her. So the fact that she's here kissing a chap she's only just met would have been frowned upon by a Shakespearean audience, and Shakespeare needed to get the audience on the side of these two young lovers. So he does that by creating this really strong connection between Romeo and Juliet's first kiss and the very religious symbol of hands praying. And by doing that, Shakespeare is telling the audience that this is a true, pure love which the audience should accept as a good and wholesome thing. Okay, so that is what all of that bit of speech is about. And it's more important at this stage, especially through home learning, that you understand that big idea rather than you understand individual words of that speech. If you can get your head around this, hands praying, religion, God, purity, innocence, closeness, and Shakespeare just then moves that forward a bit to their lips coming together, but still it's linked to religion and purity and innocence and closeness, then that is a fantastic concept for you to have grasped. If you're still not sure, I would listen to this explanation again. Okay, you only have one more task to do for today, which is sort of me checking that you understand the religious language that is going on here. So you've got plenty of time to listen to this audio input on this page again and really try and get to grips with what Shakespeare is doing here. Okay, we're not going to do any quote explosions for this bit because certainly for me, 10x2, I would want to do that back at school, and I'm anticipating that Mr. Stevenson will want to do that as well. Okay, right, well done on that. I'll see you on the next screen.